Genesis 44. Joseph's brothers are united once again, but they still haven't figured out that the rich Egyptian man feeding them is Joseph. They gotta figure it out soon, right? Well, not before the theft of a lifetime. Now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. Fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain. And he did as Joseph said. Joseph is just sabotaging Benjamin's life. He gave him 5 times the amount of food as everyone else. Now he's sticking his silver goblet in Benjamin's bag? The brothers are so gonna beat him up when they find out. If they get caught, it's gonna look like all the brothers stole money and the littlest one stole a goblet, like a biblical heist. Side note, I was looking at a book of biblical commentary when going through this chapter, trying to make sure I didn't miss anything, and the author had a special insight into the phrase, my cup, my silver cup. The author literally said this, and I'm quoting, "The double formulation highlights both the fact that the goblet is Joseph's special possession and that it is made of silver." Hard-hitting analysis right there. Remind me not to waste money going to seminary. There is an interesting literary thing going on here, though. These brothers kept wanting to pay Joseph for the food he's selling them, and every time he secretly gives them back their money. Remember that when the brothers sold Joseph into slavery back in Genesis 37, they sold him to the Ishmaelites who were going to Egypt for 20 shekels of silver. They've been carrying that guilt for years. And now, no matter how hard they try, they cannot give that money back to Egypt. As morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, "Go after those men at once, and when you catch up with them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and also uses for divination? This is a wicked thing you have done.'" The sabotage is on. He planted the cup, now he's gonna accuse them of theft. He's like a cop who turns off the body cam before planting drugs on a suspect. Totally corrupt. What a weird line about divination to feed the servant. "You guys stole this cup. My master drinks from it and attempts to see the future with it, even though that's not a real thing. I still want it back." When he caught up with them, he repeated these words to them. But they said to him, "Why does my lord say such things? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found inside the mouths of our sacks. So why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my lord's slaves." Oh no. Bye-bye, Benjamin. And if old promises still hold up, bye-bye Reuben's 2 children. It is a fair point, though. Why would we steal a cup when we return silver on our own? Your accusation makes no sense. How come no one's asking why this servant was tailgating them at all? "Very well then," he said. "Let it be as you say. Whoever is found to have it will become my slave. The rest of you will be free from blame." Bad compromise. The servant could have had 10 brother slaves and the corpse of number 11. Instead, he's aiming for 1 brother slave and nothing else. That's why he's the servant, but Joseph is the master. Wait, I know what Benjamin can do. Okay, hear me out. Sit on the sack and just say you can't get up because you're on your period. It worked last time. Does it make any sense? No. Has that ever stopped the Bible from saying something anyway? No. Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. Then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this, they tore their clothes. Then they all loaded their donkeys and returned to the city. Really? Their response to Benjamin being accused of theft was tearing their shirts? Don't rip off your clothes in the middle of a journey. Wait till you get home. I do like the order there. They tore their clothes in a fit of rage. Then they packed up their donkeys like nothing ever happened and turned around. How come no one's making a big deal about the silver in their bags this time? That should still shock everybody. Doesn't even get a mention. There's an important lesson to learn here. Before you go on a trip, double check what's in your bag. You would think these brothers would have figured that out after the last time when money magically appeared in their bags later on. How did they start traveling and not know what was in their luggage? As a brown person, I promise you, I have never made that mistake while traveling. They are so gonna get it when they return home to Jezreel, because they're gonna arrive without Benjamin, which was the one thing they said they would never let happen. But first, they gotta go back to Joseph to apologize for their klepto brother. Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, "What is this you have done? Don't you know that a man like me can find things out by divination?" "Yeah, don't you know I can only see the future using this cup, even though I can't?" Joseph is such a bad actor. I mean, I know I'm reading the lines, but you can tell. By the way, all of Joseph's brothers just bowed down to him, just as he said they would in a dream a long time ago. This story has come full circle, and none of the brothers realize it. "What can we say to my lord?" Judah replied. "What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my lord's slaves, we, ourselves, and the one who was found to have the cup." They're all slaves now? What happened to "you go home, we'll keep Benjamin"? I thought that was the deal. Look at Judah throwing Benjamin under the bus there. "We're your slaves now. Us and this guy right there who stole stuff." Did the other brothers agree to this, or did Judah just offer all of them up as slaves without their consent? No one gets consent for anything in this book. But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you, go back to your father in peace." See? Joseph knows the deal. But that's actually way worse, because the last thing these brothers want to do is go home to Jezreel without Benjamin, the only son who really matters. So the entire rest of this chapter is going to be Judah trying to tell the rich man from Egypt, his brother Joseph, that he cannot have Benjamin because it will devastate daddy. Then Judah went up to him and said, "Pardon your servant, my lord. Let me speak a word to my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you are equal to Pharaoh himself. My lord asked his servants, 'Do you have a father or a brother?' And we answered, 'We have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he is the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him.'" Yes, just pour on the guilt like it's honey. "Then you said to your servants, 'Bring him down to me, so I can see him for myself.' And we said to my lord, 'The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die.' But you told your servants, 'Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again.' When we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my lord had said." Yes, just keep that beehive buzzing with all the honey. "Then our father said, 'Go back and buy a little more food.' But we said, 'We cannot go down. Only if our youngest brother is with us will we go. We cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us.' Your servant, my father, said to us, 'You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One of them went away from me, and I said, he has surely been torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in misery." So much honey. Winnie the Pooh just had an orgasm. I don't even care that Jezreel had way more than 2 sons, and said that he'd be deeply upset if Benjamin didn't return, not that he would die. So now, if the boy is not with us when I go back to your servant, my father, and if my father, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, sees that the boy isn't there, he will die. Your servants will bring the gray head of our father down to the grave in sorrow. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, if I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. Now then, please let your servant remain here as my lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see the misery that would come on my father." I can't believe half this chapter was Judah telling Joseph everything that has already transpired. What a waste of everyone's time. The only interesting thing at the end there was Judah saying, "Take me instead. Let Benjamin go, but I'll stay." Like this is some biblical Beauty and the Beast situation. But this fits perfectly with Judah's story, because he's the brother who initially suggested selling Joseph into slavery. Now he's becoming the slave. Karma's a bitch. Speaking of a new Judah, since when does he care about his father's misery? For years now, he's been perfectly willing to let his father suffer the fake loss of Joseph without a problem. Honestly, if Joseph is smart, he'll let all the brothers go home because he'll realize this family talks way too much and they're all insane, and when they sold him off, he was actually the lucky one. When is Joseph gonna do the big reveal? It could have happened chapters ago. Have you ever seen a movie with a big misunderstanding that could have been resolved within the first 5 minutes if only the main characters had the tiniest bit of common sense? Like, Home Alone would have been a 10-minute movie if the parents just double-checked some stuff. Well, Joseph still hasn't said, "It's me." So we must be somewhere in the middle of that film.